So the regular meeting for February 24th.
Don't worry.
Please rise for pledge of allegiance. Roll call.
President Morris,
Here.
Councilmember Hidalgo,
Here.
Fernhagen,
Here.
Maroney, Sarwar, Foster,
Here.
Roberts. Here. Zola. Present.
Here.
Morency,
Here.
quorum present.
Okay. So first we have motion to dispense with reading of the minutes for January 12th and 20th. Meetings in place for month 5. Motion to dispense with. We have Jeremy and Rob. Any votes in favor? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, is Heather on yet?
Yes.
So the finance committee meeting was unable to meet this evening, so Heather is coming to this meeting to provide us with the treasurer's report. So Heather, I'll hand it over to you.
Okey-dokey. This is weird. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Can you make it a tad bigger?
Sure.
That's good, yep.
Okay. So this would be relatively short. So these numbers are through December, but with a caveat in that there's actually a lot of work that gets done between basically now and when the annual financial report, the AFR, gets filed with the state of New York, including a bunch of expenditure chargebacks and revenue chargebacks and a variety of other modifications to where the numbers are today. So I just want to preface this that for the most part, this is prior to chargebacks. I did try and make a couple estimates to give us an idea. And I also added the 2026 budget in this time around so we can get a sense of what the budget for 26 looks like compared to where we might be coming in 25. So for plumbing permits, you can see that we had a budget of $20,000 for 2025. Year to date is a little over 8,800. I know that we've got some chargebacks for the code enforcement officer, but I'm not sure what they are yet. We're still collecting those. So we're looking a little light on that number, most likely. And you can see that for 2026, we kept it flat versus where we had estimated 2025. For building permits, you can see that we're at 375 was the budget. We're at 208 currently. There may, as I said, there may be some revenue chargebacks coming out of the code enforcement officer. I took a quick look. None of them looked huge, but we still have a bit of time. So in any case, we're at 208 now, and you can see that we took the budget down considerably in 26 from 375 to 250, which looks reasonably in line with where we are year to date for 2025. Anybody have any questions on those before I move on? Okay, great. Parking revenues. So as you can see, on and off street parking, we budgeted 264, we're at 184. So we're about 70% of where we wanted to be. So we're looking a little light on that. We kept the budget the same. But again, though there are some numbers that get deposited into our bank account that haven't been recorded yet because we are unfortunately a little behind on our bank reconciliations due to staff shortage and our software implementation. But we are getting caught up on that, so that's good news. Front Street lot, you can see that we budgeted 527.5 thousand. We're at 362 right now. I did take a quick look, and while it varies somewhere in the 5 to 10 grand per month, it averages about $40,000 a month. So we'll probably get around another 120K charged back to 2025. So that should bring us to about 480-ish. And you can see that's very much in line with what we projected for the 2026 budget. So we took that number down compared to where we thought it was going to come in at 2025. For parking and other permits, we had a budget of 65. We're currently at 59. There may be some chargebacks on that. I don't know yet, but relatively close. And if there are any revenue chargebacks, that'll just make that number even closer. And you can see for 26, we kept it flat. So that seems reasonable. Parking tickets, we budgeted 440. We're currently at 447, which is good. I did take a sort of a rough look at that average as well. So it's likely we might get another 25 to 135K, hopefully, which would bring us to about 580,000, which is great compared to the 2025 budget. But you can see we were very aggressive in the 2026 budget, given the fact that, we're supposed to have now, well, we do have now meters in the first 3 blocks of Warren Street, which is all new revenue. And oh, yep. Sorry, that's it. And I'm just seeing if there's anything else to comment on that. Oh, I think the other thing to comment on the on-off-street parking is that although it looks light, we have to remember that it was anticipated that the kiosks would be in place and the rates would have been increased by June of 2025. We all know that didn't happen. So even though it looks like we might be a little light on the on-off-street parking compared to budget in 25, we kept it flat in 26 with the assumption that those increases would in fact go into place. I should have a much better sense of what 25 looks like by the next finance committee meeting, because we'll hopefully have more of these things actually booked into the general ledger system. Okay, sales, cannabis, mortgage, and lodging tax. Sorry that this chart is a little squished. I apologize for that. Although we haven't done the chargeback back in the system, we do have them in hand for both the sales tax and the cannabis. So I went ahead and added them into this chart. You can see that we had a budget of 2.4 million for sales tax, and we actually came in at 2.541, which is great. And we assumed that we were going to come in higher than the 2.4. So for 2026, we budgeted 2.5 million. So that looks pretty reasonable compared to what 2025 actuals are. For lodging tax, again, we had some aggressive numbers for lodging tax. We have not, did not see them. But to date, through December, we're at a little over 580,000 versus the budget of 750. There will be a chargeback for that, but we can't determine what it is. We basically take 50% of what we get in the first quarter of the following year and charge it back, because the returns that people file are all, for prior period. So we're at 581 now. I believe the chargeback last year was roughly 50,000. So it could be anywhere from, 10,000 to maybe 40 or 50,000 additional chargeback for 2025. And that makes the 2026 budget of 575 look pretty reasonable as well. Adult use cannabis, you can see for our first year of budgeting, we budgeted 235,000. We received about 100,000 less than that. That 131 number, not in the GL yet, but it is, in fact, it does include the chargeback to 2025. So that's going to be a pretty solid number there. And you can see for the 2026 budget, we reduced our estimate down from 235 to 160. So that looks a little more in line. I will say the last quarter of the adult use cannabis tax was about 40,000. So it's climbed up a little bit over the course of the year. So if it stays at that rate, that's 160 looks pretty comfortable. And then mortgage tax, this varies quite a lot. We have no control over it. We had a budget of 220. We came in at 207, which is pretty close. And we've kept the estimate for 2026 at 220 as well. Any questions on any of those numbers?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, great. So the rest of this, I'll make it pretty quick. This is just some financial reporting data for anybody that cares about this stuff. We have to file a federal assistance expenditure form annually. It is basically the document that indicates whether or not we're going to have to do a single federal audit on top of the regular citywide audit. That was filed, and we will in fact be required to do both the regular audit and the single federal audit, and we also have to do a single DOT audit. The federal audit is based on a number of different projects that have federal funding, and the DOT audit is primarily because of Ferry Street Bridge. So I'm hoping at least the DOT audit goes away for the following fiscal year. Financial systems, we're still, trying to work out the kinks with our new general ledger and collection software. One thing that ended up being an actually pretty significant problem was that the budgeting capability that we were promised did not actually exist or work. I basically had to create the entire citywide budget across all of the funds in Excel by hand, and that's what we used, but it's obviously not a good long-term solution because it's, super prone to just human error, one wrong formula and everything's wrong. And with as many line items that we have and as many, phases that we go through the budget that we have, it's not feasible. So we'll be investigating what their new budget solution software is, and probably coming to the council and asking for funding for that. Other issues that you probably don't have to deal with, but suffice it to say, we are still trying to make things work. In terms of the foreclosure process, we continue to winnow down the list, which is great news. We've actually had 9 properties successfully enter into installment agreements, and I have 1 more scheduled and 1 more that has been requested but hasn't made an appointment yet. We are going to send 1 more letter out to property owners, specifically who owe less than $1,000, because we're about to start doing title searches, and I'm not sure what the cost of those are going to be, but they were over $200 per search last time we did this, which was probably 9 years ago. So I imagine twice that at least. And, I think people will be frustrated that they're on the foreclosure list because they only owe, $25 or $370. And then they get, extra several $100s added to their tax bill because they didn't clear up their tax bill in time. So we're trying to do 1 more outreach to let these people know so they can clean up their balances and not have to deal with that.
Yeah, can I ask a question, Heather?
Sure.
As you go through, do you have any idea how many of the total are in that less than 1,000 category?
I believe it was 10. So,
But that's
10,
okay.
So maybe what I could do also, if the council would be willing, is I could provide the list of those people, and maybe the council people could reach out to them as their constituents and try and get them, engaged to clear up their stuff. If anybody on the council would be willing to do that, please let me know, and I'd be happy to send you the names.
There's no confidentiality issue with us doing that? I mean, this is already public to the public, yes.
Correct. Yep. It's all
So
public
I don't
information.
I
Yep.
don't see an issue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. It's more a case of, are you all willing to actually, do some outreach to your constituents to let them know. So I will plan on sending the list, and anything you guys can do to help would be very much appreciated, just because, it seems silly, but we can't do selective, we can't be selective, so I can't just say, oh, they don't owe that much, so don't put them on the list, because that's not really legal, so. But I feel bad for
Could
them,
there
so.
be- Margaret, is there a date for the next finance committee? I'm
Yes, it should have been before this meeting.
Yeah,
Our problem is because of absences,
Right.
we couldn't meet, but it'll be before the next, council.
my question for that is because maybe that committee can come up with shared language for council members for the
Um,
constituent outreach to avoid questions of confidentiality.
Well, we know all the people's names were published.
The names are published, but they might have more questions when you give them the balance that they owe or what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
So shared
think-
language is
I
helpful.
don't think we would have to wait for a finance meeting for that. I think Heather could give us guidance
Sure.
on what to communicate, because that's pretty much what's gonna be communicated in the letter anyway. And so we were just reaching out to somebody that they may know.
That's fine. Just shared
Okay.
language, I think will be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What
When
I
we get the
can-
list, we'll, Heather,
I
let's
could-
take a look, we'll take a look at the list and then see what wards people are in and make sure that everybody's comfortable with what they've done.
Yeah, what I will do is I will send out the names, and I will send out a copy of the letter that they should be receiving. I'm not sure if the attorney sent it out yet or not. But
Yeah.
I will get the text of that and send it as well, so you can see what's being communicated from them. You obviously can, probably be nicer, for lack of a better word, and, coming across as being helpful as opposed to, challenging. So
Okay.
I will do both of those things. I think that's a good idea, Jenny. Thank you.
Margaret? Amazing.
Yeah.
Heather, everything you just said was pretty much good news, are things progressing? How big does the problem remain? Is there still, people headed towards foreclosure or? Not
In terms of
positive
the
side?
In terms of the foreclosure specifically, is that what you're asking about?
No, just like,
I think it's the next set of bullets.
oh, okay.
But there are 36, which is approximately 2.1 million that are still outstanding. Correct, Heather?
That's kind of what I was asking, like.
Right, and then that's 40 fewer than the last time. And then there are 5 properties that account for 64% of the balance and 10 that account for 80%. Correct, Heather?
Yep, that's all correct.
Well, I don't understand 115 redeemed to date. What does that mean?
That means of the original list that you guys authorized, 115 of them have come off the list.
Excellent.
So we basically had
right.
151 properties when we started, and we're down to 36.
And so, and 9 are in this, there's 36 plus, there's also 9 that are not in the redeemed category, but they've entered into an installment agreement. So we've made excellent progress, Heather, I think.
Yeah,
And those
no,
are
I'm,
just,
I'm,
sitting.
All right?
These are the ones that have been sitting and haven't gone out, right?
These are the ones that we identified as owing back taxes, through in the finance committee that
Yep.
we started working on. Did you send your bill to Claire?
Not yet. Oh, no, it was already in here. These are signed twice.
I know why.
I have a stack that we're all.
I understand, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand why.
Heather,
Okay, sorry, Heather.
Heather, so $1,000, could that be like an oversight? That 1,000 seems very low. Could it like be an oversight, maybe something they didn't realize they missed a fine or something? Where does that $1,000 come in? How does that play in the scheme of the amount?
well, I picked $1,000 just to use as a barrier, for the exact reason I stated, which is for people that don't owe very much money, getting hit with a title search seems, I think they would be very frustrated by that, and we are trying to avoid that level of frustration. Having said that, though, we can't subjectively hit the 1,000 isn't you're coming off the list because you owe less than 1,000. We can't do that. Anybody that owes delinquent taxes has to stay on the list. But absolutely, some of them probably, I think there's at least 1 or 2, their balance is $25, and it's $25 because they had a bounce check fee, back in 2023, and they still haven't paid it. But you also have to remember, these people have gotten at least 2, and now they'll get 3 separate letters from the attorney, in addition to the fact that my office sends out in November a statement out of the system to anybody that has delinquent taxes. So there's really no excuse for them to not know about it, and there's really no excuse for them to not have paid it. But again, we are just trying to, minimize their frustration factor, frankly, by increasing our frustration factor by having to go through this, but we're trying. Does that make
I mean,
sense?
well, yeah, because, I mean, I see maybe a percentage of a caretaker situation, right? A son, daughter who just, is doing the money for the parents and, and they're missing something, they're not paying attention, but I definitely want to be part of that and try to reach out because there could be some funding for seniors for 25 hours or something. I just think that's, something that we should probably, definitely. But
What was that?
I didn't say
We
that.
thought it was you, Heather.
Yeah,
That's part of the reason
Yeah,
that I
what-
asked about
that
the
was
shared
definitely
language
not me.
because-
I thought I said something wrong, so, yeah, okay.
That was part of the reason I asked about the shared language, because I feel like if there's next steps for folks like seniors that have such small balances and aren't sure what to do, or if there's support for helping, like, we would have that information available to us in a script form or something that we're all saying the same thing, giving the same information.
Okay. So the other thing that I can send to you guys is, as we've talked for multiple months now, we did also include a brochure from Galvin Housing Resources, which offers free, basically at risk of foreclosure counseling. They were when we issued the last round of demand letters, that brochure went in there, but the list was also provided to Housing Resources, and Housing Resources basically looked through that list and determined who they thought might be a viable candidate for their counseling and independently reached out to them. So I can send you that information too, so you know what all of the communications were.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. So Margaret pretty much hit all the highlights. So we're down to 36 properties, which is great, but obviously they still owe a huge amount of money. And obviously the top 5 and 10 properties are the ones that owe the bulk of it. Like I said, the next steps, as we just been talking, is order title searches. And once we do those get added on to the tax bill. And then we will officially file the list with the county clerk and begin the official proceedings. So I think the other thing that's great about where we are with this is that we knocked a huge amount of properties off with not a lot of investment yet. I mean, obviously we're paying the attorney and my office is doing a fair amount of work, but in terms of actually having to do the title searches and the filing and, when we start actually issuing things, we have to send things by certified mail and regular mail. And so the fact that we were able to, like I said, limb the list down so much is a good thing from a financial expense standpoint as well. Just other items, which I'm sure are not all the items that I need to have on this, but at least there's some. So 98 Paddock Place, you guys did authorize the sale of that. I have been in touch with Corporation Counsel, and also DPW went and confirmed that the building was not, not negatively impacted by either the freezing weather or the snow or anything, and got that water turned off and got it locked up. So based on my discussion with Andy, he's going to target April of this year for the sale. So you'll hear more about that as it gets closer. It's been great. I've had a couple really good discussions with Ron Bogle. My office and the council's office definitely were struggling with some of the planning board things, specifically around escrow. And so we've had some very productive discussions with them. And I know they're looking to streamline the whole sort of escrow process in the planning board. So looking forward to that. Retirement reporting. New York State and local retirement system has implemented a mandatory gold standard retirement enhanced reporting capability. We are struggling and have been struggling with this for months. We had a really bad implementation of when we moved to ADP payroll. I won't go into all the details, but it is just causing huge amounts of problems and our inability to, move to this mandatory thing, and they're kind of breathing down our necks. We sort of got it figured out what the problems were. What we don't necessarily have figured out yet is how to solve them and how ADP can solve them for us, and whether or not that's going to be anything they can do to start with, and B, will there most likely be a cost associated with it? Yes. So that's something that we have, as I said, been struggling with for months at this point. It's one of those things that, the fact that we have, multiple timekeepers and no centralized, person in charge of payroll, makes it exponentially more challenging to not just getting it set up, but then in terms of the monthly reporting that has to happen, because, it's mistakes get made, which makes the whole thing not work. And then we have to figure out what mistakes were made and why it didn't work. So just kind of kvetching a little bit on that. It's been challenging. I do have a couple things I just want to put on and for the finance committee to consider. I don't think any of these are new, but the city currently has a procurement policy. It's not great. It hasn't been updated in a while. And I think what many municipalities do, and what I would propose, and I know that Rob Perry would propose this as well, is the state, New York State has a procurement policy. And so what I would propose is that basically, as we do with other policies and things, that the city of Hudson just says, we're going to follow what the state procurement policy is. And then as it gets modified, ours get modified. So I think right now we have like $10,000 as a maximum. And I think the state set a $30,000 maximum, before you have to start getting multiple bids or something like that. So that's just one thing. Second thing in a similar vein is.
Heather, I'll put that on the legal committee agenda, and we'll just draft language to update the code for that.
Awesome.
That came up
That'd
at
be great.
NICOM, that was one of the talks at NICOM, I don't know if anyone attended.
Mhm.
Procurement, I did not attend it, did not sound interesting.
This has come up in the past with situations where we're way lower than what the state ordinarily requires. But it impacts whether you have to get written bids, whether you have to do RFPs and so on. And the beauty of saying we're adopting the state policy is that then that's what it is. And as the state changes over time, you just stay in line with whatever the state is saying. So I think that makes perfect sense. And it's a fairly easy fix.
Awesome. That's great. In a very similar vein, for those of you who don't know, this is not for budget amendments. Budget amendments are different, but budget transfers. So if you're moving from line item 1 to line item 2, you'll see some tonight, because at the end of the year, we always have some as we're trying to, get our expenses paid with the amount of money we have left on our budgets. Currently, the policy is that a department head can just request a transfer from one line item to another within their departments up to $500. For up to $1,000, you just need a BEA resolution, which is a resolution that just has to be signed by 2 out of the 3 members of the BEA. And then anything $1,000 or higher goes to the council. Those amounts have existed well before me, and I think well before me. So, if it was $500 and $1,000 back in 1975, and it's still $500 and $1,000 in, 2026, I'm thinking along the same lines that for a sense of efficiency, that perhaps that could also be modified to maybe, $1,000 to the department head, $5,000 to BEA, $10,000, to the council or something like that. So that's just something I would like potentially to ask you guys to consider as well. It's not, critical, but it would be, I think, efficient.
Heather, so that's just internal transfer. So that's basically, you're working within your budget, right? Is that what you're talking
Exactly
about?
right. That's exactly right. Yep.
That makes sense to me, just because, things need to be done quickly in council meetings, so that kind of makes sense to up that, working within your budget.
Heather, I'm just curious, are those in the code or those internal resolutions?
It's either in the code or the charter.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That was Ken speaking, by the way. He's here. This Ken Dow, this is our new council attorney. Just those are you.
Oh,
Hi, Ken. I actually recognized your voice, so I knew it was you.
well, sorry to introduce myself. Good to hear you again.
Okay, last item, this is a new item, and again, it was really for the finance committee, not for the council as a whole at this point. But we have this, it's another one of these things where it kind of is what it is, but it causes more problems than it probably should. And that is the fact that the council members don't actually net enough money out of their paychecks to cover their health insurance, which makes it challenging because then we have to request that the council people provide money to our office so that we have enough money to pay the bill. And then it gets in this issue of now we have to track who paid what and who still owes what. And, it's, I would like to potentially look to see how much it would cost to potentially peg the council members' salaries to the health insurance costs and make that a policy so that we get out of this sort of mess that we're in. So-
Heather, can you scroll down a little because the end of your thing is not showing on the screen. So you scroll down your document. So I think that's something that we should take to finance and sit down and talk it through.
It's different
That's
for
why I thought
everyone,
of
isn't it?
here.
Spending 8 people in your town?
It is.
So we'll talk about that at the next finance committee.
Yeah, and I will try and have some rough idea of what those numbers would look like for the next
Okay.
finance meeting as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep. Okay, in some more somewhat positive news, we actually, after a lot of work, we did actually get the SID fee added to the tax bill. The tax bill went out. I know, and Gary can probably add to this. We've received a few people who were like, why am I getting this? We put an informative notice explaining what it was. Then there were a couple people that were like, hey, I went before the Public Works Board and I wasn't supposed to be assessed this charge. And I know the the Public Works Board is working on those, but unless Gary knows something that I don't, it didn't seem like a huge number of people. It seemed, so I thought that was pretty successful.
I agree.
Yep.
Can I ask either of you, whether it's going well with the, tax exempt properties? You collected well from,
Oh, we haven't connected anything yet. The notice is just.
what did you just? That was all that they responded to? They didn't respond about paying, they just responded about
Well-
receiving it?
There were a couple who had questions regarding their assessment. There have been no communications regarding exemptions or credit. Well, I mean, credits were going back and forth, but that's all been pretty well settled. So the exemptions went very well too. Yeah.
And Gary's gonna give us an update also from the Public Works Board.
Yep,
Whatever.
so we made the decision to put the SID charge in the second quarter. Because in the first and third quarters are city and county, so those are the two bigger amounts. The first also has either water or sewer, and the second has water or sewer re-levy. So we added to the second one so it wouldn't make the first or the third any bigger than they already are. And we didn't add it to the fourth quarter because I think everybody likes the fact that that's the lowest amount. The last tax payment they have to make is the lowest one, and wanted to keep that sort of yay feeling for them. And I believe what we decided in the resolution that Crystal Peck wrote is that we're going to make the SID fund, we're going to give them 50% of what we should collect in the first quarter of the fiscal year, and then the other 50% in the third quarter of the fiscal year. And that is going to be basically regardless of how much we actually collect. So the SID fund will be made whole. It's the same thing that we do with the water and sewer re-levy, is that we give the water fund and the sewer fund the entire amount of their re-levy once it's put on the taxes, and then it becomes, our burden to collect. So we're going to handle the SID fund the same way. So, yeah, and then the only other potential issue that I think we might want to look at a little harder as we go forward is the payoff of the $500,000 loan, because at the rate that it was budgeted for in 2026, it would take us a decade to pay back that loan. And I would argue that that is probably a little longer than it should be. But that's something we can talk about in the Finance Committee as well at some point, and also in the Public Works Board. In terms of anticipated borrowing, I reached out again and just confirmed that the pumper truck delivery is not going to happen before June, because June is when we're going to go out with our annual borrowing. So that's all good. On the flip side, we're reimbursements for particularly Ferry Street Bridge, but also the DRI. We borrowed a little over $7 million to fund those two projects in a one-year bond anticipation note, which is going to expire in the middle of June. And if we don't get those reimbursements back in time, we're not going to have enough cash flow without borrowing again to cover the expenditures. So, I know Rob and I have had multiple discussions about this. Rob has had multiple discussions with the engineering firm that's in charge of the Ferry Street Bridge and in charge of filing for the reimbursements. So that's going to be a focus for sure over the next few months to, hopefully minimize the amount that we might have to borrow again on a short-term basis, especially, if we borrow it in June and then the reimbursement comes in July, it's going to be super frustrating. And to answer an anticipated question, can you set up something like this so it can be paid back early? Yes, but it's often not actually financially beneficial, because it ends up changing the rates. Other good news, though, is we did close on the EFC financing for phase 1 of the major sewer upgrade. And the nice thing about that is we did also do an interfund loan on that of, I want to say, around $600,000. But unlike some of these other projects with EFC doing the financing, they're very quick to turn around, and you can put in reimbursement requests on a very timely basis. So basically, the amount of money you need to float in order to move the project along isn't nearly as great as it was in those other two projects. So that seems like so far it's going to work out well. We also, along the same lines, is we filed an application for sewer debt exclusion from the constitutional debt limit. I know you're all excited about that, and it was approved. So that's actually a really good thing. If it had not been approved, it would have significantly limited the amount of money that we could borrow for basically anything else. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
Excellent. So, Heather, thank you very much for that excellent report. If you could submit that to Lyric and council, we will post that for the public as a document from the next meeting under reports.
Will do.
Any council members have questions? Nope. We have member of the public.
Heather Floyd, so I think I can pony up $50 for those two people that owe $25. So I'll stop by in your office tomorrow. Maybe some other people, I mean, you're talking about less than $10,000 for these 10 people, maybe $5,000, I don't know what the number is. But maybe the council or the finance committee might, entertain some sort of tax forgiveness. Now, I don't know the legality of how that would work, but I mean, it's some change. And I think you're correct, like good people who said for me, so I'll be by the office tomorrow with $50. Anyone else that wants to contribute to the goodness of humanity, you might want to do something similar.
Any other public comments? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
You have a.
Oh, sorry, we have a hand raised.
Stephanie?
Is she muted?
She is muted.
Stephanie, we think you're muted. Can you take yourself off mute? Okay. I think we can move on unless there's any other hands raised.
She's trying to come off mute, she's on camera now.
Oh, it just came off mute. Sorry. I wasn't able to unmute. Thank you, Council President Morris, and thank you, council members. I was thinking kind of along the lines of Lloyd just now, wondering if there is a possibility of looking at the continued erasure of community in Hudson and long-term multi-generational residents losing their homes and leaving the city of Hudson, and wondering how if it is possible to kind of create a stay in place fund or way that the city of Hudson can protect its longtime residents who are the culture keepers and the historical the people who make Hudson what it is, and just continuing, keeping an eye on the way like State Street and Columbia Street have changed so much over the last 5 years, and how we've just lost so many families that really made Hudson what it is. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
So just to FYI in public comment, we take your comments, we consider them. It's anything relating to policy, etc. If it's a simple question, asking for a factual answer that can be provided from documents already discussed, we can clarify. But anything else that requires discussion and deliberation, we will not engage in debate. I will make one comment, that anything that is done with regard to the collection of the back taxes has to follow tax law. And so anything that we come up with will have to abide by whatever the state requirements are. Okay, so that was treasurer's report. So committee and departmental reports, we had our committee reports last week, and we have received all of the departmental reports. Those have been posted to the city website. Can I have a motion and second to place the committee reports on file? Motion from Jenny, second from Gary. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Gary is going to give us a brief public works report. He was unable to attend our informal, so he's just going to give us an update on the status of, mainly on where we are with regard to what DOJ was focused on, correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, and, yeah. So, I know there's some new members here, in the council, so I'll just give a brief background. A couple of years back, I think we're all aware of it, DOJ came to the city, said that they needed to see a solution on our part. We moved forward and created the Sidewalk Initiative District, SID, and the city loaned that initiative $500,000. Back in 2024, Public Works Board was formed again, specifically to enact the SIC law that had been passed. Starting off, we did an audit and we hired a outside firm, Hyman Hayes, who put together a report that became part of the solution for DOJ. And they broke up the city into 8 different areas, identifying various ADA problems that were in existence. This overall work has been addressed by a couple of different initiatives. The biggest one, biggest one was DRI. And so everything below 3rd Street, for the most part, has a lot of the ADA problems have been addressed that way. We have not gone back and done a full audit to see if everything that had initially been identified has been fixed. And in fact, I know for a fact that there were some curbs that the DRI was backed off from because of cost. So there is still work to be done on Front Street as an example. Another initiative that DPW took on was hiring a precision safe sidewalks firm which grind the curb ramps down on Warren Street. A number of intersections were addressed that way. That worked out okay, but I have to admit that few of the curb ramps are slippery when wet. I think it was ground down a bit too much, but we've discussed that, and that is what it is. The Public Works Board addressed primarily the curb ramps with connections to the public and municipal buildings. And so the various projects that we've taken on and had construction done on was at the Youth Center on 3rd and Cherry, and 7th and Union, the sidewalk giving access to the police department. And we also address intersections at 5th, 6th, and 7th Street between Warren and State Street. Beyond the actual construction that was accomplished, what we also did was make sure that the city, the public, all stakeholders involved were involved and understood the ramifications. We took advantage of Hudson Hub, our online center for the city of Hudson. That worked out very nicely in communicating with the public. We also took advantage of water sewer mailings to get more information. We went through all of the property assessments, making calculations, and merged that with the county database, which went well. We also addressed the exemptions, which were available from the law for firefighters and veterans. And that went well. In both cases, we just piggybacked off of the mechanism that the county had in place for exemptions and discounts. So that worked nicely. And then also we worked with offering past work credits. And so that took actual inspection on the part of the board and negotiations in some cases, and then going through the appeals process as well. While I'm at it, then I'm assuming you all know who's on the DPW, and that probably is not the case. The current DPW consists of the mayor, aide, and ADA coordinator. In this case, it's Tiffany Martin. We also have the Public Works Commissioner, Tyler Kritzman, and those are the two primary individuals in this board. The rest of us are there to support them. I'm the council's representative. I'm also the chairperson, which was voted on by the council here last year. And we have Dave Marston, who we have a resolution to bring him back for another term for another year, and also George Cronenert, who is also a community member and was selected by the mayor's office.
We'll be voting on David tonight, actually.
Yes. So budget initially, a loan was made of 500,000. To date, the total that has been paid out, and that goes across to Crawford and Associates for project management, actual construction work, and also the LaBerge CDBG application. So the total of that amount was 396,335. There's a balance of almost 104,000 that's still available to us moving forward. We, for at least this year, have decided to pay back, I believe it was 50,000. Did you just say 25, Heather? 50,000
No,
anyway.
I said 50.
Yeah,
Nope,
okay.
I said
thank
50.
you. Yeah, and yeah, Heather is right. I had proposed an aggressive payment plan in terms of keeping as much money with the PWB to get as much work done as possible. So I think at some point in a couple of years, the payback ought to increase. Prioritization moving forward, we have not yet gotten together. Well, we got together in January. We haven't gotten together yet this month. But we'll be sitting down, reforming the team and looking to move forward, identifying additional work, and then also going back and saying, okay, how do we go back to where work has been done and then signing off on it. In all likelihood, following the Hyman Hayes, report that, we received back in
24th.
20, it's actually before that. Yeah, it was back a few years before that. So, any questions?
Councillors?
I just have a little addition to that. In, with the DOJ settlement also, was the identification of ADA coordinator, and all the processes with the grievance process being on the website, the renovations to City Hall, that was all part of that DOJ settlement, including the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And, just for some that don't know, and also, the mapping of the DOJ settlement, that's why you're seeing the library, because the senior center's there. It's basically a path to government, programming. So I think that's, just for some that didn't realize why that was.
That has been the priority, yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, so I think that, I think we're doing very well, in terms of where we are, with that settlement in terms of, and I think it's just gonna be an ongoing, process. And I think the reason why the SID, was developed also because the nature of being eventually, they're no walkable because, somebody fixes the sidewalk today and, tomorrow it's the sidewalk next to you is gonna be a tripping hazard, right? Because it might not be level. So I think it's having a sidewalk district, and what Kerry's doing is to allow, uniform sidewalks, down the road to be, all uniforms, regarding not just ADA, right? There's also the safety and everything, a walkable city.
Yes,
Any,
thank you.
any hands raised, Logan? And I see no hands in the room, so, thank you very much for that. And perhaps on a quarterly basis, we could get a briefing.
Be happy to.
Perfect. So we have received communications. All communications have been posted to the city website. May I have a motion and a second to receive the communications and place them on file? Motion,
Motion.
Henry, second, Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. So we have a number of resolutions that we introduced at our last meeting. So this evening, we will have a motion to vote and a second on these resolutions. So in the past, what we have done, when you have the motion in second, we're doing the introduction. It could actually be a motion for an action, which is the vote. So if you are motion and second on these, we will need signatures this evening. Our first one is the Hudson River Estuary Grant. May I have a motion to vote on that? Jenny, second. Henry, roll call vote.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Kern Hagan,
Yes,
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Yes.
Roberts. Felton,
Aye.
Bola, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Carried.
Our next one is the chargebacks 2025 transfers from the police department. Motion and second to vote. Jason, motion, Henry, second. Roll call.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Kern Hagan,
yes,
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Felton,
Aye.
Bola, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranti.
aye,
Carried.
Our next one is fire department transfers for fiscal year 2025. May we have a motion and second to vote? Motion is Henry, second is Claire. Roll call.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Kern Hagan,
yes,
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Felton,
Aye.
Bola, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranti.
aye,
Carried.
Our next one is a budget transfer for the survey of Oakdale Park. May I have a motion and second vote on this? We have Jenny as motion, second is Lola. Roll call.
President Morris,
Yes,
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Vogel, Cousin, Moranci,
Aye.
Barry.
our next is reappoint, authorizing appointment for CAC members. May we have a motion and second? Motion Henry, second, Claire. Roll call.
President Morris,
Yes,
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Vogel, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranci,
Aye.
Barry.
our next is the motion to reappoint David Marsden as the community member appointed by the council. And may I have a motion and second? Gary as motion, Henry as second. And roll call vote.
President Morris,
Yes,
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Vogel, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranci,
Aye.
Barry.
our next is a revised license agreement with the Hudson's Group Club. Following our discussion last week, there were a couple of minor edits that were requested that we made. One clarified the voluntary role of the seasonal individuals of the Snook Club. We also changed the number of years on insurance from 3 to 1. And we clarified the definition of pier and dock, and there was a fourth.
To do with the properties, do it.
Oh, yes. Yes, we removed a subclause relating to adjacent the sewer and fuel pumping adjacent to the property. Those were the only changes made. So may I have a motion and a second? A motion is Jenny, second is Claire, to vote on this, and we do a roll call.
Mark, you want to clarify why the 1 year thing was changed? That's the only thing that's of substance.
Okay, you can clarify that.
Just to make point, there's a tail on the insurance that had been 3 years and they requested to be reduced to once. They didn't have to carry in the event they did not continue run. That becomes effective that becomes useful really when there's an event that may happen where the damage would not emerge for some period of time, construction or medical, there could be things where somebody did something inappropriate or negligent or whatever, and you wouldn't know it for a while. But in this case, given their role, it seemed very improbable that anything would happen that was completely unknown and wouldn't emerge for 2 or 3 years. So it seemed a reasonable request on their part to have to carry for 1 year. So we felt that probably was a reasonable thing.
President Morris,
Yes,
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Browning, Sarwar, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Vogel, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranci,
Aye.
Barry.
and we have the next two, numbers 8 and 9, are resolutions that did not come before us in the informal. As you know, the process now is, unless it's an emergency, things have to come before us in the informal for discussion. However, in this case, these are from Michelle Tulo's projects with regard to housing and justice. And the new process was, she was unaware of the new process. So I'm introducing these, and Michelle is here this evening to walk us through what these two resolutions are and to answer any questions that you may have. So Michelle, we begin with the amendment of the existing contract with CT Mail.
Sure, yeah, we're,
Do you want to come close to the mic so people can hear you?
that is not easy at, so we have, a Home rehab grant, and we have a accessibility modifications grant to help people with disabilities get modifications in their home. We have an existing contract with CT Mail that was prepared through an RFP process to do, environmental services, so like asbestos, radon, et cetera. And there was one more service that needs to be added to the contract for them to just look for basically records of any environmental issues on the site so that we can get our environmental clearance. So it's within the budget, so that's just the amendment that's added there. And the second one is for an engineering firm. They also procured through RFP, lowest bid, MWBE, and they will just perform some engineering studies for homeowners. For example, someone who might need a lift, or they'll help with the design of that, and some structural issues, they'll give a study and recommendations.
I have a question about the second one. Do you have a list of properties? Because I was looking at, and this is just a grant, we're not matching that, right?
No,
And that's just, I don't know, I say free money, but we're not having to match them.
we have the properties, it's not public information, so that's why that's crossed out there. But yeah, we have done we received the grant a year ago, so we did the homeowner application last like spring into summer. So over the fall, we've been doing like home inspections and building the scope and stuff.
Okay, and these are just recommendations. They don't provide any installation service, or do they maybe recommend contractors, or is it just plans for the service?
So there's funding for the service too.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
so in the fall, there was a contract for a rehab specialist. He had a construction, or maybe it was in the summer, 2025. There was the council approved a contract for a Maida, who's the rehab specialist, so they developed the work scopes. But they're not engineers, so that's why we need that. Once we did the work scope, we saw there's a couple houses that needed engineering services, and just the rules of procurement, we have to, professional service, we have to procure directly, they can't be subs.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council members? Dominic?
So Michelle, when you say contractors, so who selects the contractors?
It is a bid process, so it's advertised, so we usually try to do, like info sessions and like postings and get a pretty wide range. And if the, contractors meet the requirements, then they are eligible to bid. So requirements like insurance, references, eligible, like, work experience, stuff like that. And then, the homeowners select the contractor. If the homeowner wants one that's not the least affordable, then they can be the difference, put that to escrow.
And so in terms of the contractor, so the contractor does the work. Who signs off on the work being completed and satisfactory?
It's the rehab specialist, the homeowner, and myself, and there's any permits pulled for most things, so then code.
So code enforcement has to sign off.
Our code enforcement, not a third party.
No. I mean, the only difference, of course, is like electric, you need like a third party inspector, but.
And is there any insurance in terms of the contractor, say, for example, if the contractor doesn't do a good job?
Yeah.
And we don't know about it until after the fact. Is there ongoing insurance so the property owner is not responsible for that? Because obviously they can't go to small claims, right? Because they didn't pay for it, the grant paid for it. So how is the homeowner going to recover to make them some, it right?
Yeah, so we collect the, that's part of one of the requirements that contractors have to have insurance on file provided to the homeowner. And then, those warranties are given for specific years for each type of, product that's used or different services.
But warranty's usually on the product, not the work being done, right?
The work has a 1-year warranty, and then the products have the lifespan of it.
So if it's not noticed after a year or whatever, then who's responsible for that
The,
notice?
we have to go case by case, and those cases is gonna have to be, we'd have to go case by case, there's different, depending on what the specific work is, but, we can specific questions, happy to talk more. That's not really relevant to this, like, contract resolution, so happy to talk more if you like,
Okay, yeah, because, like I said, it's not the property owners kind of not involved in this in the end. So there's no small claims because they're not paying for anything, so there's no recovery. But yeah, I'd like to see how the property owner is protected.
okay.
Thank you.
We have one hand raised, I think, Gordon.
Yeah.
Sorry, Henry, did you have a question?
Yes, I have one more. How, this is the, you know, the end of, like, it seems like the end of the process you've already started.
It's like the end of the beginning. Like, there's kind of a year of setup of getting the whole team in place,
Okay,
and then construction projects will start later this spring. Yeah,
okay. So we're not gonna be revisiting this for this firm. Oh, I'm only asking because it seemed like just with a little bit of overtime, they could leave that fund dry pretty quickly just on their overtime hourly rates at a per case basis. Obviously, it's probably a worst case scenario.
Sorry, which one are you speaking, which?
Am I
Mayor?
looking at the wrong one?
No, which one are you talking about?
The fees for
the engineer.
having the engineers, come from Terrytown and
Yes.
paying their travel, lodging and food expenditures.
Yeah, that's not, so above it is like the actual agreement.
Yeah,
for the
those
services.
are extra.
And that's like, if something else was requested, it has to be agreed on by parties, it's in there. I think it's very unlikely.
Great.
Any of that would be agreed upon, but, and they gave us a rate for doing the houses in one day for release rates of travel and stuff.
So we have somebody online.
Yeah.
Andres Brown.
Yeah, this is not a comment on the resolution, but a comment on a technical matter. What I'm currently seeing on my screen is not an image directly from the screen from the room, but what seems to be Mr. Dutton's shared screen. Okay, now I'm back to seeing the image from the room. So I guess whatever it was has been taken care of. Okay, but Matt McGee would like to ask something.
Yes, I was just curious if there are going to be public meetings with this body when they're deciding to do these things.
This particular grant has been in place for a while through Housing Trust Fund, correct?
This isn't a housing trust.
It's not done under Housing Trust Fund?
No, but, it's not like a public,
Well, it is a city project.
Right. I guess I'm confused with the
Well-
question.
So can you clarify the question?
Oh, yes. I would think that they are doing governmental work for the city when they're doing this. So it would seem to me that they would need to have public meetings. Thank you.
Okay, just to clarify, you're referring to meetings where the team is getting together to decide on next steps, engaging contractors, what projects to work on, their process for identification and qualification, if you will, of applicants for home rehab, that those meetings should be public. Is that the question?
Muted the microphone.
Sorry. I was
Think that's the
muted.
question.
Yes.
I will check, yes, I will check into that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Any other hands raised? We have a member of the public in the room.
Is it just an evaluation? And how many properties or is it actual work that are being conducted in physical
The
construction?
engineering, just for evaluation and a report of recommendations of next steps.
How many different properties are we envisioning this covering?
Right now, it's just 3 that need it, but there's an option for if we need another 1 or 2 to add that on.
Okay, that's about the extent of this.
Well, there's, more homeowners, there's more homes in the grant program, but only 3 require engineering services.
Okay, thank you. So if there are no other questions, can I, yep, Henry?
Or sorry, if there are only 3, we get all of that, I don't know, 600,000+ at once, and do we get to keep it? If it's not used for this engineering project, or does it roll into some other?
There's like a max budget per house, and within that budget, you can, like, there's discretion to divide up the line items. So houses that don't need engineer have a little bit more towards hard costs, for example.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's like a max budget that can be spent per house, but within that you can move around. So like some houses that are new don't need lead-based paint testing, for example, right? So that could be more money than cost or whatever.
Kind of think they need it anyhow. And do the homeowners get 100% of the cost covered from this? Okay, it's a sweet program.
Unless they choose a contractor
Oh, right.
who is qualified but not the lowest bidder,
Gotcha.
in which case they have to make.
That's an hamstrung situation.
Okay, thank you very much. So can we have a motion to, this is number 8 on your agenda, authorizing the amendment of an existing contract with CT Mail. Can I have a motion and a second to vote on this? We have motion from Jenny. Do I have second from Laura? We can have roll call vote.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Aye.
Fernhagen,
Yes.
Browning, Sarlar, Foster.
Yeah.
Robert,
Aye.
Belton. Rolo, President.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Terry.
And now can we have a motion to vote on authorizing a contract for home and access grant? Claire, motion, Jenny, second. Not roll call.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Aye.
Fernhagen,
Yes.
Browning, Sarlar, Foster.
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Rolo, President,
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Terry.
Okay, and now we have, in our rules of order, where I said if there was an emergency situation, that we could bring something to the formal that I've not previously been looked at in informal. And we have a DPW transfer, that meets that requirement, and it relates to the snow emergency. So, any questions on that? I think we know we've had some. Okay, Jason, do you want to give any, is it reported in your committee, what had occurred? You can only give us all a summary.
We're out of salt.
We're out of salt and we're out of overtime.
Yes.
And I think we're anticipating this past storm to be very large, but it might be just large enough, but we're still going over. And we need some money to plow the roads and salt the roads.
And we also may have another storm. And the other thing to bear in mind is that the season doesn't end in March because it also has November and December.
Right.
So we will be revisiting this, I think.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to vote on this resolution? Jason? And second, Henry? Roll call?
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen,
Yes.
Browning, Sarlar, Foster,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Rolo, President,
Aye.
Moranti.
If the state during this time does a state of emergency, is there any recovery we can do for any funds if there's a state of emergency, or is that only especially if our county's part of them. Can we recover
I
funds?
can't answer that question.
I'll take it to the committee.
Okay, thanks. Aye.
Carried.
Okay, next we have the bills. So, oh no, maybe I brought my copy. Any questions on the bills? Thank you. I annotated mine.
I have mine somewhere too, I can't find it.
Does anyone have any questions?
Actually, this is a real devastating question because I'm on the bills this time.
No, you don't.
Thank you.
I don't think we have any questions. So can we have a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to pay.
Henry and the second,
Go.
Gary, and, you give me an opinion, this, that nobody reads this. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote.
President Morris,
Yes.
Councilmember Haddad,
Yes.
Fernhagen, Browning, Sauer, Foster.
Yeah.
Roberts,
Aye.
Belton,
Aye.
Solo, Cousin,
Aye.
Moranti,
Aye.
Carried.
Okay. In old business, we reviewed the video conferencing, rules last week. And so Ken, you want to walk us through the process steps here? We're not voting on tonight. We are going to be doing it as a resolution because we already have a law. We have to go through some steps. So do you want to just walk us through what we're going to be doing now?
Yeah, you do have a law on the books governing video conferencing by members of the Common Council and the other committees. But it differs from what, it seems the council wants to do going forward. Because the, current thing is actually a law, it can't be superseded by a mere resolution. It takes a law. There are a couple of ways to do that. Discussion would probably be the most advisable would be, actually two things can go on concurrently. One is just to repeal the existing law and take it out of the code altogether, and then to adopt a resolution. And one of the reasons for doing that, a couple of reasons. One being that the authorizing statute is set for expiration and repeal in July. It's likely to get renewed. No guarantee though, but it also could be modified. And just as the president said earlier about the procurement process, sometimes it's better off to have your local things simply reference the state laws and not have a separate law, because when the state things change, then you have to go through the whole local law procedure to change them and the cost of having your E-code updated and such. So in this case, because this is a law that maybe would be tweaked going forward for one reason or another, since it takes a local law in any case, I would suggest just repealing the one that's there and then adopting the new one as a resolution. It still requires a public hearing, and if you were to change in the future, it would require a public hearing just as law would. But there is more flexibility because you don't, again, it doesn't get codified, doesn't get into E-code, doesn't get printed in your books. And if you found, for example, that you wanted to modify the description of extraordinary circumstances or change the number of cases in which someone could invoke those things, it would just be a lot easier to make those kinds of tweaks going along as a resolution. So we'll prepare a local law to be introduced for the next informal meeting, which will repeal the current video conferencing law, and will simultaneously introduce or present a resolution, and a public hearing can be set on the resolution at the same time, because the public hearing to repeal a local law. And so you can do them in tandem as you go through. One will end up just replacing the other one.
And so the time for this will be that we will bring these to the informal.
They can be brought to the informal. You'll have to schedule a public hearing in both cases. So,
could we put together a local law to repeal the current and a resolution, and particularly from local law perspective, mail those to every council member so that they have them on their desks for at least 8 days, and then schedule public hearing between that time and.
well, actually, you can they can be presented at the informal meeting, because it's 8 days before you get to the formal meeting and be adopted anyway. So That's,
Okay, so that would be okay.
yes,
And, the public hearing piece has to occur. We have that between the informal. and
Well,
the formal?
and a simple thing like this, oftentimes I think public hearing would maybe precede the common council meeting.
Okay, that's a good. So that's an excellent.
You
idea.
can call it, you can call it public.
That's
hearing, it's fine
excellent.
with you.
Yes, that's.
I mean, the scheduling though, I
Yeah.
think you would want to see the proposed law
Right, right.
or proposed resolution.
Yeah.
But that would be Monday. I think it could be put in the paper, use the Register Star as the official
Yeah,
paper.
yeah.
So that could be within a couple of days, and then
Yeah.
maybe you need 5 days.
Right.
5 days notice for the common council to schedule a public hearing.
Let's
Right.
see.
And then we have our public hearing before our meeting. will
So
be
you
over.
could do that, right, on Monday, you get it started, immediately publish the
Okay.
public note, the notice for a public hearing on the following Tuesday, 8 days later.
Yeah.
The paper, it's a paper 5 days ahead of that Tuesday meeting.
Alright.
You could do that and should be able to do it all.
That should work, but I'll let you know, because.
Okay, all right.
Window.
Yeah.
In order to put the publication in.
So that's.
If it doesn't get published in time, it just goes out another month.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
It's
You
not.
can have something in place, so.
What we have in place just doesn't specify, special circumstances that we want to recognize as extraordinary. That's the main difference. An item that's not on the agenda here, but I just want to bring it up. A couple of months ago, we had, and I know we discussed this, in January. We had a discussion around the Little League field, 2025 tax exempt status that the assessor agreed to. We had, guidance from our, counselor, I believe back in January. If possible, and I'm gonna defer to you, I would like to ask for a vote in favor of designating that, of agreeing to make that not-for-profit. That does require a, it's a 3-year agreement. However, every year they have to, prove that they are still a non-profit and it's still being used for non-profit purposes. And to Dominic's questions about this in the past, this is about 2025, it's looking back. So this is not something that's going to be a going on thing, it's a Little League moves to another field. Is it possible for us to vote in favor of that without having a resolution drafted?
There is a resolution. She sent it.
Oh.
She circulated. I thought it went to all of you.
Oh, I did not find that.
Yeah,
Mark.
Okay,
I just got a quick update on that. So I think it's great if we can do the 3 years. Currently, the Little League does use it for Little League games. Henry,
You're right. It's the softball that,
and T-ball and.
yeah, it was the, yeah, you're right. You're
So,
totally.
so that's the only field in Columbia County. And I think it helps guarantee Little League
okay,
3 years. So
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think that's
to be
great.
clear, on the 3-year
Yeah.
provision, that's part of the real property tax law that, this was brought as both as an Article 78 and as an Article 7 under the tax law, and I did verify that it was proper to bring it under those provisions. I want to check because normally Article 7s have to do with the actual assessed value of the property, whereas this had to do with determining that the property was entirely tax exempt. So it wasn't a question of the value of the underlying property, which was that the assessor and the other parties and the lawyers had determined that this property actually was exempt, irrespective of what the property is worth. But the statute does specifically authorize that to be brought under Article 7 of the real property tax law or as an Article 78. It was brought under, and they settled it under Article 7. There's a provision in Article 7 that any settlement or resolution of an Article 7 real property tax proceeding is binding for 3 years after the determination. So it's actually a statutory provision that makes the settlement or the decision binding for 3 years, but that is subject to certain things. For example, one that would be doing work on the building and changing that, but one of the other things specifically in there has to do with reaffirming the tax exemption on an annual basis. So even though it's a statutory 3-year thing that is subject to their providing on an annual basis, verification that they still qualify for the exemption. So if it changes and it wasn't used for that purpose at any one of the time going forward for 3 years, the exemption would terminate and this agreement would terminate. So it's 3 years as long as everything stays the same, but they actually have an affirmative duty to show that on an annual basis.
Ken, is that transfer, because this property is one of them, supposed earmarked for BARD, is that transferable? If the property's transferred to BARD?
I believe it would be if it's continues to be tax exempt in both in the ownership and in the use.
Yeah, roughly both.
I didn't do the underlying litigation, I haven't invested, I don't have a full knowledge of the history and such. I didn't know that was a part of the question.
We don't know for sure what the BARD properties are for. So I think, you know.
But in any
if that
case,
comes up, we'd have to relook.
there's probably, whatever the answer is, there's probably actually nothing that can be done about it one way or the other, that, if it does carry forward, they would still have to demonstrate that they're entitled to that on an annual basis. If for some reason it didn't carry forward, then they would have to come and apply for it anyway. So it probably doesn't have a significant impact either way, but it would probably continue with the transfer as long as the qualifications are made in place.
So since you don't have copies of this resolution in front of you, I am going to read it. Whereas Galvin Initiatives Foundation, with real property located in the city of Hudson, commenced proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the New York State Real Property Law and Article 78 of the New York Civil Practice Law, and rules challenging the assessment of property located in the city of Hudson, Columbia County, New York, and designated as parcel number 109.16-1-8 on the official assessment map of the city of Hudson, property for 2025. Whereas petitioner is New York State Charitable Trust, whereas the time relevant to the 2025 City of Hudson assessment roll, petitioner was leasing the property to Benjamin Morrell Little League, a not-for-profit organization. Whereas petitioner applied to the city for an exemption from real property taxes for 2025 assessment roll pursuant to real property tax law 420A, and the application was denied. Whereas respondents hereby agree that for the 2025 assessment roll, the property will be eligible to be exempt. Excuse me?
Was eligible.
Sorry, thank you. Was eligible to be exempt from real property taxation pursuant to RTL 420-A, and whereas proposed terms of settlement have been presented to the City of Hudson for a change in the exemption status and a reduction of the assessment as follows. Petitioner's application for RPTL 420A status for the 2025 City of Hudson assessment roll is granted. All applicable tax refunds are to be paid with interest pursuant to Section 726 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York, except that in the event the refund of taxes is paid within 60 days with the date of a service of a copy of a final court order with notice of entry, then interest is waived. And petitioner is required to submit an annual renewal application to maintain its exempt status on any successive tax rolls. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Hudson does agree to the settlement and to the entry of the order for the change in exemption status and reduction of assessment for the property. And be it further resolved that the city's officers, employees, agents are hereby authorized and directed for, in the name of and on behalf of the city, to carry out the provisions of the order. And be it further resolved that the Rodenhausen, Shell and Polidoro LLP, in its capacity as attorney for respondents in this proceeding, is authorized to execute such documents as may be necessary to effectuate this resolution. Question, Claire?
Is there a reason we want to vote tonight and not have more time?
Because it's been hanging around for about 3 months.
Okay.
And because there's nothing further to discuss. And clearly in 2025, they were tax exempt. And it was an error on my part not to have put it on the agenda. It just slipped through. And I realized today that, wait a minute, we've already had our session with the attorney back in January, and there's nothing further to discuss. That's why.
Question two.
Yeah.
There's no money to be you mentioned the language talked about refunding taxes. There's nothing.
They pay taxes in 2025, so they have to get a refund.
Oh.
I believe they paid the taxes.
Yeah, I think it's like 12.
Yeah, it's very little.
But that's not an issue for the city, there's no.
No, it's, I
It's like $1,200.
No,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, work on.
I remember we looked at that.
Yeah, it was less than the legal fee than they've
Yeah.
have spent to
Yeah.
file this.
Yes, yes. Okay, any other questions? So can I have a motion to vote on this resolution?
Motion,
Henry, second, Jason.
let's do it.
Can we have roll call vote? And you can have this for your own.
President Morris,
All right,
Councilmember Haddad,
Aye.
Fernhagen.
Aye.
Browning, Sarwa, Foster,
Aye.
Roberts. Felton,
Aye.
Volo, Cousin,
Aye.
Ferranti.
Aye.
Carried.
great. So any other new business from any council members? Jason?
We received something this afternoon that I just wanted advice on from the council, and I don't know, like, how to handle
So
it.
we should go into executive session, or you personally want to?
No, no, not personally.
It, sorry?
It involves everyone.
Oh, it
and I
involves
think
everyone.
I don't know how to respond to
Okay,
it.
so the best thing for us to do is to enter executive session.
That's what I'm gonna ask.
So, in that case, before we do that, with the process for that, and I like to do that at the end of the meeting, so the public, both particularly the people online, can leave knowing that nothing exciting is going to happen. Or hoping, and also the folks in the room can leave. So is there any other?
To be clear, actually, you can actually close the meeting entirely because attorney-client privilege is actually different from executive session.
Oh, okay, thank you. Excellent.
So,
Perfect.
executive session is something that's allowed for certain enumerated purposes. That's actually part of the meeting where you would, within the meeting, you would make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose stated. You go in, then you come back out, you're still in the meeting, then you close the meeting. Attorney-client privilege is actually entirely outside of the open meetings law.
Lovely.
So you can actually close the meeting and then just as a body, we can go in for attorney-client and just discuss the legal question and.
Okay. So, thank you. Any other business, any other new business from anyone online, Morgan?
No.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I got one hands.
Oh, okay.
Audience.
First one up was Ronald.
I will let Stephanie go first. I yield to
Stephanie,
her.
go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you again, Council President, council members. I just wanted to restate my letter of this afternoon so that members of the public can hear it. I have written in support of the City of Hudson Department of Youth to ask that Mayor Ferris write an exemption to the mayoral decree creating the current hiring freeze so that a salary line can be created and employed to position an assistant director at the youth center immediately. The hiring freeze was not legislated. It was created by a mayoral order, so it can be addressed by the mayor creating an exemption to address this important staffing position. It's urgent that the director of the youth center be able to work with an assistant director now, well in advance of the most demanding summer camp season at Oakdale, to set policies, vet and hire summer staff, and create and enact training protocols for summer staff. The addition of the assistant director position allows for 2 leaders and strong oversight at the 3 homes of the youth department's programming now, the Hudson Youth Center, the Hudson Area Library, and Oakdale Lake. And even though the summer transfers to Oakdale Lake, there's a lot of overlap when staff is trying to reposition themselves for their summer headquarters. Participation at Oakdale Lake has exploded in the last few years, and the youth department's commitment to safety and supervision requires months of advanced preparation with staff interviews, hiring and onboarding, and maintenance of the property, in addition to school year operations of expansive programming at the youth center and the senior center. I'm urging Mayor Ferris to consider the health and safety of Hudson's youth and especially the multiple liabilities the city faces if Oakdale Lake staffing is not prioritized well in advance of when the summer season starts. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak to my community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
So Ronald, you had a comment?
Yeah, I have a procedural question. If attorney-client privilege is being invoked as opposed to executive session, does any kind of information have to be given about the nature of the litigation prior to?
No, because it's actually not, it doesn't have to specify that it is about litigation. It's purely attorney-client discussion. So because that's by nature confidential, it's exempt from the open meetings law, and litigation can involve discussion among the members, their strategy. That can, you don't need, for example, you don't need a lawyer present to go into executive session to discuss litigation. This is specifically would be a discussion that you must have the lawyer present and answering and responding to specific legal matters or legal questions with the body. So there are different things.
On the other hand, if a lawyer were present, you might still go into executive session as opposed to use the rubric of attorney-client privilege, and
Well,
therefore
there's
be
a
subject to the
limitation.
open meetings law.
There's a difference in what you can legally discuss. When you go into executive session for litigation, for example, as I said, you don't need a lawyer there, and the board members discuss among themselves their strategy, proposals, all kinds of things that may be not strictly legal questions. To go to attorney-client privilege, you're really constrained to the lawyer giving guidance, getting questions, giving guidance. But it wouldn't be just a freewheeling discussion of all this litigation strategy. But again, this may have nothing to do with litigation. It's just.
You can say something here. So Ronald, first of all, a council member has a question and they are seeking legal advice. I don't know what the question is. And we will not know until we go into attorney-client meeting to hear the question and get the advice. So I think that's where we are. I don't want to prolong the discussion. I mean, we can research the difference in the scenario between the two situations, but I think it's fine.
Okay, all I want to say is I've never heard this distinction made before, and I would be interested in the resolution of this question. Thank you.
Absolutely. You had a question. We have member of the public in the room with question.
I have a comment.
Someone.
Should I come to the mic?
Yes, yeah, because the public can't hear you.
So I'm here, to urge members of the council, not to, consider, changing the short-term rental legislation, except to strengthen it. Current restrictions in place have the good effect of discouraging prospective investors and encouraging full-time residency. I'm a full-time resident of Hudson since 2005, and I believe I'm not alone in valuing very much the quality of life that comes with living all year long, with brief or infrequent exceptions, next to people I know well and can rely on. For example, yesterday morning in the snow, I looked out my bedroom window and saw that my neighbor's basement door had blown wide open in the driving snow. I texted them. This is one of a million instances in which we find that it is lovely to live somewhere and know people. With its current legislation, Hudson is in good company, and I urge you not to degrade the current law and only consider strengthening it. Do not be short-sighted. Take as your model these European cities that, with their long view on cultural preservation, have banned or severely restricted new Airbnbs in their cities since 2021. Berlin, Munich, Barcelona, the entire country of Portugal, Vienna, Florence, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Stuttgart, and Palma. I could go on forever. I also urge you to take as a model Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is a city very much, or rather a town, very much like Hudson in many ways, and which struggles all the time with its lack of housing for year-round populations, lack of workforce, no enrollment in the schools, et cetera, and so that is my comments.
Thank you. Just for the record, would you like to indicate whether you're a resident of Hudson, and if so, what ward?
Sure, I'm in the first ward, I'm a resident of Hudson, Rebecca Wolf, first ward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Who are the next ones?
Ronald has his hand up. I don't know if that's the same thing. And then Justin Weaver has his hand up.
Ronald, is your question?
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. I
Okay,
don't.
so, Justin Weaver, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I noticed you guys just approved the bill, and I saw that the mayor's aid is listed on the bills for almost $500. I'm just curious as to what that's for.
I will have to go back to my notes. In my notes.
Thank you. Is it 500 exactly or 499?
No, it was 400 and something. It was like 470 or 480 something. It said Tiffany Martin. It didn't say mayor's aid.
489.
Yeah.
It's not one of the new ones.
We're in,
Very welcome.
Yes, this was for, postings. I knew I had looked at that. It was for postings for the, position of code enforcement officer. It was job description. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Jay, we have three hands up. Jason and Henry, you can have second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye, thank you very much. And so I think, Logan, we can